This year I ain't playing, I'm on a mission. I don't see no competition. Waiting my turn and I play my position. Sat in the room, I ain't talk, I just listen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dave here, JDH Reptiles. Today I wanted to put together a video. I'm going to try and get back to doing some more videos that talk about genetics in general. And what better way to start this than to speak on the Lori gene. Now, when I put this video together, what I'm going to do, I've taken still shots of about 6 animals, roughly 7 animals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a photo and then I'm going to narrate over top of it and explain to you what to look for when you're looking at these animals. It just made it easier because some of the animals I'm showing you, some of the larger animals, are actually breeding females. And one of them in particular is a female I'm waiting to ovulate. So I didn't want to really get her out and hold on to her during a video. So just, bear that in mind. But the Lori gene, let me give you a little bit of an explanation of this. So a lot of people think Lori and het red axanthic are the same gene. I know that some of the shed testing places are trying to figure that out currently. I'm going to start collecting all my Lori sheds and send them off. But what I do want to tell you guys is I have produced multiple het red axanthic combos. So let's say het red axanthic lesser, pastel het red axanthic, regular het red axanthics, etc. And I've also done the exact same combos in Loris. And I can tell you they are wildly different and easy to tell when you hold the animals up side by side. Now, does this mean it's a completely different gene, or does it mean that it's just a really good line bred gene that looks really good? For instance, I like to say a lot of like Hurricane and Blitz and Trick, even though they all are the same gene, you can tell when you have a really good high quality Hurricane and probably a really good high Trick. But I'll be honest, I haven't seen a Blitz that I feel like looks as good as a really good high quality Hurricane. So, is it just line breeding that's causing this, or is it something more? But when it comes to the Lori and het red axanthic, we don't know yet. So hopefully in the future we'll know and be able to get an answer to that. But at this time we don't know. What we do know is both those genes are in the 8-ball complex. And the 8-ball complex consists of Huffman, consists of het red axanthic, Lori, cinnamon, black pastel, Enchi. I know I'm missing a couple others in there. But the black pastel complex. And you can say the same thing about cinnamon and black pastel. Very similar animals, not the same genetically. And you can easily tell the difference between the two. But they do create a very similar super. Now, the het red axanthic super, which is called a red axanthic, in my opinion, doesn't look as wild as a super Lori. Again, a cinnamon Lori looks really crazy too, but as you look at the differences in them, and as you look at the way they grow, and they brown out and don't brown out, etc., you could tell they're 2 totally different animals. So, and I do have a photo of both a super Lori and a cinnamon Lori that I produced out of the same clutch, and you will be able to see the difference, and I'll explain that to you. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, I'm just going to post a photo. I'm going to talk over the photo, give you some info. I'll post the next photo, etc., etc. And I'm going to go through multiple of these combos that I have here in house. So let's go ahead and jump into that. All right, so here is a single gene Lori. Now, technically, this is a Lori het sunset. But what I want to show you here is how the single gene is so dark. You could see the bold outlining, especially around the eyebrows. The pattern itself is pretty wacky for just a single gene animal. It's a very dark, very clean, very bold animal. And that is what you're looking for in your single gene Loris. Also, another thing to notice is a lot of these combos where you don't have pastel or anything that washes the head out, these animals will have a head spot on them. So it could be just a round faded spot, to as much as like a pi sign or an elongated spot. You'll see this more in the darker animals, but anything with pastel usually washes that out. All right, so now we're going to move into a pastel Lori. So this is taking that original Lori gene and adding pastel to it. Now, I want you to be very aware that this is an adult female. She is hopefully going to ovulate here soon, but I want you to see how well the pastel has not browned out. It looks really clean, and you still get the same wonky pattern in the Lori. If you look right here at the head, you'll see that those eye stripes are still very boldly outlined, and the pattern itself still has a dark outline around it. So the pastel Lori, pastel doesn't brown, which is a positive thing when the animal ages. The Lori gene still makes the animal look very dark, and it's just a really good looking animal overall. All right, now we're going to move into a Coral Glow Lori. So Coral Glow is the same as banana. We'll get into that in the future. It is het for sunset, but regardless, you can see again where the Coral Glow changes the color, but you still get those very dark black outlines around the alien heads and again around the eyebrows or the eye stripes of the animal. So here goes the eye stripes. Again, very dark outlining. Now again, because it's a banana, you're not getting the blacks and the tans. You're getting that more yellowy color from the banana. But the bold outline is still easy to see. Even though it's not jet black, it is a very, very, very dark border that goes around the alien heads and the eye stripes. The pattern, still very wonky. Just a perfect example of a Coral Glow Lori. Now I'm going to show you something I produced over the last year. I no longer have this animal. I did sell it. This is an Orange Dream Lori. So unfortunately, what Lori does is it darkens the animal, right? And in doing that, it pulls some of that orange saturation out of the animal and gives it this more like a bronzish gold kind of pewter look to it, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but you can easily tell it's not dark like a single gene Lori, but it doesn't have those popping oranges like an Orange Dream would. So something to keep in mind, that if you bump Orange Dream into the Lori, you do get this darker looking animal. Now, this is a Lori VPI Exanthic. Unfortunately, I did not appreciate this animal and the way it worked together. The Lori keeping it super dark. This is a visual VPI Exanthic. When it was hatched, before it shed, it still had that silvers and the blues, and it looked absolutely amazing. And then after it shed and got a little bit of size to it, this animal's about 250 grams, and it's just very, very dark. Again, you still have the bold outlines around the alien heads and around the eyebrows or the eye stripes, but it really, in my opinion, took away from the Exanthic side of the animal. Now we're going to add another gene. So you have the Coral Glow, you have the Lori, and in this one you have lesser or butter. This is a butter line animal, but lesser and butter are the same. Again, we'll get into that into a future video. But as you can see, you still got the wonky pattern. That's from the Lori. As you see, the alien heads now have this teardrop shape to them. That is coming from the butter / lesser gene. Pulls the alien heads down into that teardrop look to them. You'll also notice in Loris that they have not necessarily like an eyebrow in the alien head like black pastel, but a lot of them will have that little eyebrow here and there. But again, even with the coral glow, even with the lesser, you still get that bold outlining, again, around the eye stripes and the alien heads. Now we're going to switch and still do a 3-gene animal. This is a coral glow Lori calico. So in this one, you could see where the coral glow and gives it that yellow color as we expect. The Lori still giving it the wonky pattern, still changing up the alien head shape. And this time you're getting that white packed coloration in the alien heads, and that's due to the calico. But as you could see again from this animal, very dark around the alien heads, very dark around the eye stripes. Not necessarily a black or a really dark blue like in the other animals, but still a very bold outline that you can easily see in the animal. And one last thing I did want to add, when you were looking at this animal, you'll see a lot of freckles. And this is something we'll talk about in a future video, but lesser butter Mojave typically takes all the freckles out in coral glow / banana animals. So that's why the last one, the adult, didn't have any freckles, where this one has a lot of freckles. The Lori gene, those dark genes, do help to increase freckling. So that's something else to keep in mind too. Now we're going to move into the allelic animals. Now again, an allelic animal is an animal where it has 2 genes in the same complex. Again, with Lori being in the 8-ball complex, what you have here is an Enchi Lori. Both of those genes are in the 8-ball complex. So that means that this animal here, being a super form, or not necessarily super, but what we call an allelic animal, is that Enchi and Lori being in the same animal means that if I paired this male to a female normal, every animal will be either Enchi or Lori, never both, but also it'll never create a normal. Because since there's 2 genes on one allele, that means that this animal has to pass on one or the other gene to every hatchling. But again, never both. So as you can see with this animal being an Enchi Lori, it's still a very dark animal, but it does have that bronzish color that the Enchi gives inside the alien heads. You still have all of the borders around the alien heads and the eye stripes. Just a pretty neat looking animal. Another allelic combo. This is an adult cinnamon Lori. Now, as you see, you get the alien heads connecting together like cinnamon does. If you look at the eye stripes, you'd have to zoom in here, but the eye stripes are actually very faded, and that is a cinnamon trait. They don't have the dark outlining around the eye stripes, but you still get the super wonky pattern from the Lori. Now, again, this is an allelic combo, so again, this female, when she would produce eggs, everything would be either cinnamon or Lori. And if you notice, this does have a very brown and green coloration. In a future photo, you'll see a baby, and I'll be able to explain it better, but this is what happens as they age. All right, now we're going to add a 3rd gene. This is another allelic combo. This is a pastel Lori black pastel, and this is the Barnhart line of black pastel. Now, as you can see, the pattern, it's faded from the pastel, but it's in there, and it's really jumbled, almost like a super, and I will show you a super here soon. But this animal looks really sweet. This is actually an adult, a proven breeder that we produced here, and she's like, I think 3 years old now. So really cool animal. Again, an allelic combo, so black pastel and Lori. So every animal she produces will either be Lori or black pastel. And yes, even though she's Barnhart line, it's still in the same genetic makeup, still in the same complex. So you still will get either one or the other of the two genes. And now we have made it to the super lorry. Now this is just a 2-gene animal. Now technically it's 1 gene, it's the lorry animal, but it is a super. So that means you have 2 copies of that gene. They're on the same allele and they produce a super. So what you're seeing, over exaggeration of pattern, almost coloration wise like an axanthic. Very silver, very black, such an amazing animal. Bold outlining, heavy on the darks, heavy on the pattern. You still have some of the like eyebrows in the alien head showing up. But this is just an amazing animal. This is where you take the lorry gene. It stays like this even through adulthood. A very amazing super animal. And I wanted to hit back on that cinnamon lorry. This is a photo taken of the super lorry, which is on top, and the cinnamon lorry, which is on the bottom. As you can see, they both have that super exaggerated pattern, the blacks, the bold, the darkness. But if you look at the two, you can see the change in the color, the hue. Both these animals are like 200 grams at this time. And with that bottom animal, you're getting some of that brown or that greenish color already coming through. These are all the same clutch. So weight-wise, they're almost identical. Size, they're almost identical. But you can clearly see the difference between the super lorry, which is on top, and that cinnamon lorry. And again, that cinnamon lorry will grow and age to be just like that female I showed you not too long ago, who's basically brown and green, in my opinion. That's colors I see. Now, what this also showcases, unfortunately, is the problem with supers in the 8-ball complex. If you look at the tail on the cinnamon lorry, you can see there's a kink in the tail. And what you can't see, at least I can't see, but I know because I produce the animal, there's actually multiple kinks in the back of this animal. One about another 4 inches from that bottom kink going upwards, up the back, and then one about another inch or 2 up further. Now, obviously, this animal did do just well. It ate just fine. It passed stool just fine. Now, I no longer have either one of these animals, but both of them, as far as I know, are still doing amazing at their new homes. And this is the final animal I'm going to show you today. So this, from what I understand, is a world's first. I produced this in 2024. I do still have it in my collection. This is an albino super lorry. And actually, with how white the head is, I believe there's probably pastel in this too. So this animal was produced from a single gene lorry, 100% het albino, to that one I showed you earlier, the pastel albino, or sorry, the pastel lorry black pastel Barnhart line. That animal was a clutch mate and it was also het for albino. So I got fortunate enough to produce this animal last year. Now, because black pastel and lorry are allelic, I had the opportunity to make that last female, the one I showed you that was really all silver and the pattern was pretty washed away. I had the opportunity to make that in an albino, and I actually did. I will show you that animal at the very end. It is going into shed. Matter of fact, you can see where it's actually got dryness on its head, but it's basically a white animal with red eyes. It does have a little bit of yellow to it, but it is a pastel lorry, black pastel albino, and again, that Barnhart line of black pastel. But this here again, just another amazing example of what you can make with this gene. Will I keep this animal long term? I don't know, because I don't work the albino project anymore, but it's so cool. He will probably stay here for quite a long time. I worked multiple 4 or 5 years to produce this animal, and I'm so thankful that I did. And since you stayed this far, here it is. Again, don't mind the little bit of shed on the top there. The whole animal's going in the shed. I think it's going to shed completely here in a few days. But as you can see, it's pretty much almost completely white. A little bit of yellow on its nose, a little bit of yellow in the body, but really no pattern. Such a very cool animal. And again, I believe this to be a pastel Lori black pastel albino and that Barnhart line of black pastel. So if you go back in the video a little bit and you see that adult female, that's all silver and the pattern's pretty much gone. That is the mother to this animal. And that one was a pastel Lori black pastel. This is the same thing with the albino gene. All right, guys, so I hope that was educational for you guys. I hope that showed you a lot of what the Lori gene can do. And hopefully it inspires you to get into this amazing project. Some of those photos where I have like my logo in them, a lot of those came from my for sale ads on Morph Market. So they're photos that I took before the animal sold. But the ones where I'm holding on to the animals, those I took today. But the ones where I had them on my silver trash can lid there, those were taken today as well when making this video. But yeah, so my line did come directly from the BHB line, so the Brian Barczyk line of animals. So if you're ever looking for Lori animals and you're interested in any, and you really want to get into that line of it and make sure you're getting the stuff that originated from Barczyk himself, feel free to reach out. I currently don't have any available, but I will have some this year. And I might actually have some with redhead in it and spot nose. It'd be really cool to see those interactions. So stay tuned to this channel. Like I said, that pastel Lori, she was paired to a fire spot nose redhead. So hopefully she gives us a nice solid clutch. We get a bunch of Lori combo animals, and we should hopefully have some available for you this year. The Coral Glow Lori Calico, she was paired, I think, to a Monarch. So hopefully we'll get some Lori Het Monarch stuff. And maybe we'll get some more Lori Het Sunset stuff this year too. And then next year we're going to be going for the Lori Sunset. I'm telling you now. And I already have a name picked out if I hit a Lori Sunset, what that project will be called. So stay tuned for that. But if you guys like these videos, make sure to hit the like button. Maybe leave a comment. Let me know that you enjoyed this video. Let me know you'd be interested in seeing more of them. You know, we can definitely jump into many other genes to showcase and show what a lot of these animals will do. I don't keep a lot of single gene animals, but hopefully I can put together some really nice videos for you guys if you're interested in it in the future. But until next time, thanks again. You can hit one of these boxes around here to subscribe to the channel. Go see the next video. Again, like, I'd appreciate it. And we'll see you then. Take care, guys.